Welcome! My name is Max. I am joined by my friend Robin. Say hello, Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin. Hi.
Hello. We want to know what trains are good. We want to find the best trains in video games, right?
There's a lot of trains out there.
There's, I would say, frankly, too many trains.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of shit trains out there.
I think
and we gotta
there's a
find all
lot
the
of
good
shit.
ones.
It'd be a more interesting list if we chose all the shit trains, actually.
Yeah, but there's just too many. It would be too long.
That's true.
There's a select few good ones out there.
Robin, to start us off, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to respond to me 100% honestly, okay? What is your fourth favorite train in a video game?
My fourth favorite train in a video game.
And we can use that as a baseline to judge other trains off of.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Dragon Quest IX.
Dragon Quest IX
is my fourth favorite train.
Okay. I do have a studied history with Dragon Quest, but I have not touched 9. Talk to me about this.
So the whole kind of hook of 9 is there's this, you're an angel, right? You're a Celestian.
Me?
Yes.
Wow.
In the game.
What an honor.
And you have to, every so often, every few hundred years or whatever, the Starlight Express comes through the sky, and you, offer these figs up to this tree. The Starlight Express. It's been a while. I feel like I'm getting most of it right.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when the Starlight Express comes around again, it shatters, it breaks, and it falls to the earth, and it fucks up everything, and then you fall to the earth too.
The train breaks?
Yeah.
That's tight.
The train blows up, and it blows you up, and then you become human. So now your quest is you have to get all the figs, and you have to repair the train.
Oh.
You have to get the train back.
I had no idea that there was Dragon Quest with train in it.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a really cool one, too. That's neat.
It's really cool. For reference, my top 3 train is...
Oh, hold on. Let's, Are you going to spoil anything right now? Or are we... Because we'll get there. We'll get to the good ones.
Okay.
We'll get to the good ones. I want to hold off on the excellent ones for a
little bit. I do think my top 3 are, I think we both have them, very clearly.
I don't think so. I think you and I probably share a number 1. I don't think you're familiar at all with my 2 or my 3.
Okay.
I think we probably share a number 1.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So, tentatively, right now at number 4 place, we have Dragon Quest IX.
Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty good train.
That is a pretty good train. I guess for my number 4, so for reference, me and Robin both made our own individual list of trains.
Yes.
And now the point of this, we're going to be merging them together. We're going to see what happens when they combine. My number 4 train comes from an RPG Maker game. It's called Azusa 999.
Okay.
This is one of those games where it's one of those RPG Maker games with no combat, hardly any gameplay at all. It's walking and talking. And a theme we'll see a lot, I think, in these trains in video games is that a lot of them are symbolic for a lot of things, right?
Okay.
These trains tend to be symbolic, especially for, as we might notice in our number 1 train, for the afterlife, right?
Yes.
Right? See if you can figure out our number 1 train so far just by that.
Uh-huh.
But in Azusa 999, there's these passengers, and they have passed on. And what's interesting about this is that by talking to the residents on the train, each of the residents on the train get this little flashback sequence that you play through to kind of see how they wound up on this train, right? So the train is a vehicle, haha, we're all laughing at that. The train is a vehicle for bringing all these disparate people who have nothing to do with each other kind of in the same enclosed space.
Yeah.
And seeing more what things they do have in common than what they don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which also is a common trope of having this train be a place where a bunch of different kinds of people gather so you can see a lot of different perspectives in one tight little area, right?
Yeah.
It's also how trains tend to be used as just a very kind of convenient way to have a lot of characters in a small space.
Yeah.
So what I like about Azusa 999's train is not necessarily the train itself, but what happens inside of it.
Yeah.
So for our purposes, I'm going to say it goes below Dragon Quest, but
okay.
I think it's still pretty high up there. I'll keep it kind of high up.
That's interesting. Thinking of because there's definitely a few things I have where it's some of them I picked for the train itself, and some of them I picked is what's inside of it, what goes on with the train. And, the train itself is fine. It's normal. Yeah,
because there's, I don't know, because if we think about these trains like Azusa 999, I mean, my God, there's a lot of trains like this. Even if we just think about trains like this in RPG Maker games, we could make a whole list just on that.
Uh-huh.
We got I don't know, there's like, is Bear's Restaurant an RPG Maker game? It has a very similar thing there.
I don't think it is. It's like spiritually.
It is, yeah, kind of the same way
Mhm.
that Commonplace is like an
Yes,
RPG Maker
yeah.
game. Actually, one of my top 3 trains of all time is an RPG Maker game, so I will not mention it now.
Okay.
I don't know, RPG Maker games, they love trains, dude. And I will
Yeah.
say, Azusa 999, I think this is like a 1997 game, so it's back there.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
If anyone was there to kind of lead the charge on the trends in RPG Maker games, I wouldn't be surprised if Azusa 999 had a little bit to do with some of the things we see now.
Uh-huh.
So I guess in that kind of way, just for the sake of the legacy of it, we should probably wind up keeping it kind of high up-ish, I think.
Yeah. I'm kind of the way you're describing it, as more experience with Dragon Quest. I think it goes above Dragon Quest.
Above?
I
You
feel
think so?
like, yes, I do think so.
Tell me what you think is better.
I just think like the notion of like these symbolic trains in RPG Maker games, that there's like so
Mhm.
many of them, and this is like one of the earliest ones, like setting a trend, and it gives like a lot of the afterlife symbolism is in a lot of them, but it feels like this one just kind of like simple and very like communicative in a way that others may struggle to be.
Okay, all right, so you think sometimes maybe these get a little lost in the weeds,
Yeah.
and Azusa seems maybe a little pure, right?
Yes.
Just kind of pure in its execution. I agree. All right, we can
Mhm.
put it above Dragon Quest. I don't see it getting too much higher than this, though. In fact, I think it'll go down as this list continues, but
Yes.
I think it does make sense to keep it above Dragon Quest.
Hmm. This is kind of what I expected. Like all of my trains are from like pretty bigger games. Because the next one I have is Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion with DLC.
That's
for
a
that
subway! That's a
Shit!
subway!
Shit!
That's a subway!
I didn't know if they count. I'm sorry.
I don't think it does. Because you know,
Sorry.
there's also a lot of good subways. I think of it. Do you remember that recent indie game Subway Midnight? You remember that one?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought about putting that on my list because that's a pretty neat game.
All right.
But I was like, no, it has a subway right in. It's not a train.
Yeah. Okay, well, my other one is, I don't know. We can put an obvious one out of the way. Final Fantasy VI, Phantom Train.
Right. Yes. So once again, being used as symbolism for the afterlife. Right?
Yes.
Seeing that a lot already.
Mm-hmm. That's again, like, I love the fight itself, but just like the journey through that train.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VI has these little like pockets where it gets really puzzly. There's a lot of the time it's this kind of there's like 2 flavors of that game. There's dungeons and then there's the overworld stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're either talking to people or you're fighting monsters. And then every now and then there's a secret 3rd flavor, which is just like solving puzzles, which it doesn't do nearly as often, but this is just kind of like one big, like huge puzzle segment.
Yeah.
And of course it climaxes with fighting the train itself, which is one of, the single best uses of a train in any video game up to that point, or still now, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great battle. Everyone loves talking about how you can suplex the train. That's a
Yeah.
classic gag, classic
Mhm.
joke. Iconic. Positively iconic train.
Yeah, very, very just incredible train. I think, like, they always talk about me because of that, and also just, like, I don't know, I've never seen RPG, like, do, like, a full train dungeon. Like, a lot of trains are used for, like, more narrative purposes when you're going
Mhm.
through it, and one that's, like, mechanical like that while still having, like, that narrative aspect to it.
Right.
I don't know, it's really interesting.
So here, I anticipated us talking about Final Fantasy VI, and I also agree
Yes.
that we should have Final Fantasy VI on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Only if it can be the only Sakaguchi train on this list.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was thinking about this. I was thinking about Final Fantasy VI, and I was like, man, that Sakaguchi loves trains, right?
Yeah,
Like, basically, the entire first chapter of Final Fantasy VII
yeah.
has a lot to do with trains, inside of them and outside of them. It's a very critical part of that game, as well as it's the same problem with it's the same kind of situation as with Lost Odyssey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which also has a train dungeon where the dungeon is exploring the entire train, like you said.
Okay, yeah.
However, I think it would be unfair to have Sakaguchi take up more than one entry on this list.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be Final Fantasy VI. It is the best
Yeah.
one.
Love that train.
It's the best one. And I think because we think about Final Fantasy VII, and we think
Yeah.
about all the excellent scenes that happened inside of the train. We think of the
Yeah.
train graveyard, which is an incredible set piece, right?
Uh-huh.
Train graveyard, come on, that's sick.
Mm-hmm.
But it ain't no Phantom Train. It just isn't.
Yeah.
Just not quite there. So I tentatively would put Final Fantasy VI above everything else we've said so far.
Okay.
I think so far this is our best train.
Yeah.
Eliminating Final Fantasy VII and Lost Odyssey from this list, which for all intents and purposes should, be here. We'll say they spiritually exist inside the tabs of Final Fantasy VI. We'll say they exist there. I am going to pull us away from RPGs for a little bit.
Okay.
I want to introduce, I'm going to say Gunbird. Have you ever played Gunbird?
No.
Gunbird is a vertical shooting game, which is just absolutely bursting with personality. Its main conceit is that the player character is searching for different parts of a mirror. There's 4 parts, which means 4 stages, and then one final stage at the end. One of those stages is not on a train, but it ends with one, and it is such a delight to see all the antagonists in Gunbird like on this train, and then as you're defeating like segments of the train, you can see them like falling back into like further and further train cars. You can see them like moving through the train cars.
Oh my god.
As you're like kind of flying over top and destroying all these guns and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then at the very end, like the front of the train turns into a massive fighting robot, which is once again just a brilliant set piece. I think this is, if we're talking about trains used as like an antagonistic force, as we kind of did with the Phantom Train and fighting the train, I think this is about as good as it gets. Really.
Yeah.
I love in Gunbird this train that like becomes a robot, and you're like defeating all the different segments of it, and then the front. Oh, I don't know. It's such a good moment.
Yeah, it sounds fucking crazy.
Yeah. And that shows what Gunbird is all about, right? It'll like show you something, and then it's just like, what if we made it like insane though? What if it was like batshit crazy? And it's like, hell yeah. Hell yes, Gunbird. Thank you for the privilege.
Go crazy about it.
Yeah.
A lot of shmups are very like maximalist.
Yes. This is not the only action game I have prepared, but it is maybe the loudest one.
Yeah, it is just like the loudest genre of games.
So now we reach the trouble of how do we compare a train that turns into a giant fighting robot to a train that represents the afterlife and is quietly kind of
it's hard.
Right.
Like kind of like I feel like we have to have like different categories of trains where it's like the trains that are like symbolic and have like a lot of meaning, and the trains are just cool as fuck. Because I got a cool as fuck train coming up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The problem with that is like Final Fantasy VI, I think would still be at the top of both of those lists so far.
Yeah, it is. I guess we're figuring out if it's the most iconic gaming train.
The most iconic, maybe. Certainly.
Yeah.
I think it probably is the most relevant in... Oh, maybe not anymore, though. I was going to say it might be the most relevant in like the gaming sphere. You talk about games or trains in games, and I think most people would think of that.
Yeah.
I think that would have been true like 10 years ago. I don't think it is anymore.
No.
There's one train that I think is a little more present in the cultural consciousness.
Yeah.
But before we get there, we need to put Gunbird somewhere.
I feel like... yeah, it'd have to be like right below Final Fantasy VI. I don't think it gets near that, but it's still real good.
I think so too. I think it certainly is better than Dragon Quest IX.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with Azusa. But the fact of the matter is, again, what's important about the train in Azusa is not the train itself, but what happens inside of it.
Yeah.
The train is kind of like a background character, right? Whereas within Gunbird, it's very, very forward. So if we're talking about the best trains in video games and not the best things that happen in trains in video games, I think that makes Gunbird just a little bit better. So that makes sense. All right, we're putting Gunbird above Azusa 999.
So yeah, my coolest fuck train comes from Bayonetta 3.
Okay, I thought we might see this. I thought so.
I know this train because I played this game and I shared it to you like a little while back. I don't really like Bayonetta 3 that much.
Right.
But the best part about it is the weapons.
Right.
The weapons fucking rip.
Sure.
All these weapons are tied to demons, and one of them you get is a train demon. You get a big, dark, booming train with like a giant snake devil inside of it. And you take that and then it turns into big like chainsaw hammer claws.
Shoot.
And you just fucking grind people up, and then you turn into a train. Bayonetta turns into a train too.
Okay, so let's pause there. There's some nuance here that I think I missed while I was watching you play Bayonetta. So are you telling me that this train also is a snake, also is chainsaws, also is a hammer, and also is Bayonetta?
It's not all of these things at once. They're like 3 separate things.
Okay.
They're all related to the train. The train has a snake in it, but it's like that's part of the train, and then the chainsaws are the weapon you get from the train that are like they're like mini trains on your arms with chainsaws for the wheels. And then Bayonetta also turns into a train.
I see.
And it's cool as fuck.
Okay, that's a lot more than I remembered. In my personal list, Bayonetta didn't even crack the top like 20.
Jeez.
But this sounds a lot better than what I was originally giving you credit for. I don't know if it gets above Dragon Quest.
I honestly don't think so, because here's the caveat I hasn't brought up. It's an incredible spectacle. I love how it looks. I love actually using the weapon, but then there's the Demon Slave commands where you actually use the demons themselves. And the one for the train is really boring. And I never used it outside like the one time I had to.
Sounds like it might not be a great train.
Sadly, not as great of a train as I wish it could be, just like everything else about Bayonetta 3.
That's right. Okay. All right, we'll put it beneath Dragon Quest.
Okay.
Wouldn't be surprised if it kind of falls out of the list by the end of this.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised. We'll put it there for now, though.
Sadly, I do not have as many trains as you do.
Right. I do have like maybe too many trains.
Yeah, there is going to be a point where I just run out and then you just have to list off the rest of what you have.
Well, I guess we mentioned this before, but I feel like it's still not exactly certain. How many trains, how long do we want this list to be? I'm thinking either 15 or 20 entries.
I was thinking 15.
15. Okay, so 15 entries. Yeah, I don't really see Bayonetta making it out by the end of this.
Yeah.
20 maybe. 15 I don't think so. So in that way, Bayonetta 3, an action game. I'm trying to keep on the theme here.
Yeah.
I guess Platinum, known for their action combat, recently developed Soul Cresta, which is a revitalization of the Cresta series, which originated in arcades. I will posit what I believe to be the first train in a video game, which comes from Wild Western.
Okay.
This is an arcade game. It's a train that kind of sits and exists in the middle of the screen to kind of divide the screen into 2 equal halves. Where on one half is the bad guys and on the other half is the player, which I think is interesting. It's interesting to kind of have it as like a blockade, like a barrier like that.
Yeah.
It was like 1982. It's not an especially impressive train.
Yeah.
And really, this is just set dressing for a very kind of mechanical application. I wouldn't call it necessarily an inspiring train. There isn't, you know what? There is another arcade train, which I would say, I'll save that for my next entry.
Okay.
Wild Western, though, we'll put it at the bottom of the list for now.
It's okay, yeah.
I think it's at least worth mentioning if we're talking about the history of trains in games. It's a significant one.
Just to have there.
Yeah. And at some point, I'm going to have to list a game that goes beneath your entries. So we can put Wild Western down at the bottom for now.
Okay, thank you. I've got a much better cowboy game.
Oh, yeah?
And that's Wild Guns.
Yes! Yes!
Yup.
Wild Guns, dude!
Let's go!
Wild Guns! Yes!
I love going on the train, and then the guys come up, and you're pushing that fucking thing, and you're shooting at them, and they got fucking hang gliders, and there's a fucking guy throwing bombs at you, with dynamite and shit, and you're fucking blowing them up.
We got parallel train action in Wild Guns, dude. Parallel trains.
And you're shooting the guys off the train. So sick.
That's right.
Crazy and shit. Just
That's right. That's right. Wild Guns, dude.
Yeah. Fucking badass train.
Fuck. Wild Guns, dude. Oh, man. Because here's the thing. So this is kind of another application we see of trains, is them being used as an action set piece. Unlike Gunbird, you're not fighting against the train, you're fighting on the train, right?
Yeah.
Which is not unusual, right?
Yeah.
We see that in, I think that happens in like Kirby Planet Robobot. It happens in Metal Slug.
Yeah.
what's that fucking... Oh, there's a recent game, I think for like the ZX Spectrum, called The Last Train to Trans Central, which is a game that takes place entirely on a train. It's a run and gun. Not too dissimilar from Wild Guns if it was like purely... Imagine Wild Guns if it played like Gunstar Heroes, right?
Okay.
So this is not unusual. Certainly the best.
Yeah.
You'll notice I didn't scream about any of those other games we mentioned.
Uh-huh.
It's not quite as good as Wild Guns.
Yeah.
I really want to put this at the top of the list right now.
Yeah.
I really want to, but I don't believe it belongs there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's better than Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
I wish it was. To me it is.
Mm-hmm.
But realistically...
I was gonna put it like below Gunbird.
Below Gunbird? They're close. They're certainly close.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's because I haven't like seen what it looks like in the game, but I keep coming back to think about that fucking all the boss on the train and the train to Big Robot.
Yeah. It's great. The reason why I would want to put it above Gunbird is because, like I said, the train segment is only like at the very end of the level. Most of the level has nothing to do with the train.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great moment, but we spend a lot more time in Wild Guns with the train. It's used in a lot more kind of dynamic circumstances. Overall, I think it's a better use of the train.
Mm.
So I guess as the only person here who has played both,
Yeah.
I'm going to say Wild Guns goes just barely above Gunbird, just a little bit.
Okay.
So that's going to be our second place train right now is Wild Guns.
All right.
Now here's the thing. Wild Guns was recently remade, and technically that train is better.
Yeah.
Just by virtue of it being a little prettier. For our purposes, we'll just say Wild Guns. We don't need to say Wild Guns Reloaded. We get it. We know the remake is
fine.
better.
Yeah.
Wild Guns, though, come on. Right.
Come on.
Come on.
It's Wild Guns.
Come on, dude. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Wild Guns also still kind of a very arcade-styled game. So I will return now to the arcades here. I think any discussion of trains in video games would be remiss not to mention perhaps the most important series of train video games in all of video game history, which is Densha de Go, right?
Okay.
Densha de Go is a series by Taito. Started a very long time ago in the arcades. Now it's been on all kinds of platforms. It's been on the N64, the PlayStation. It's on the Switch and PS4 right now. It's been on the Game Boy. Famous for its massive bulking external peripheral, which is just a full train control deck that you use as a controller. This is a game very simply about really inhabiting the role of a train conductor and turning that into like a razor precise arcade video game, right? As far as making sure the train is going the correct speed limit at certain places, making sure you pass by certain stations at the right times, making sure you get to your destination correctly, making sure the train doesn't go over the destination by any amount, making sure to brake nice and smoothly so that the passengers don't get upset. It is just the most loving, the most like razor sharp video game that could be crafted around this idea at all. They have had decades and decades of experience of just fine-tuning this thing to be the absolute most like full version of what a video game like this could possibly even look like.
Yeah.
Utilizing real actual train stations in Japan, viewing like real renders of the surroundings that would be alongside these train routes and stuff. It is in one way hyper realistic and in another way hyper like video gameized. Yeah. Perhaps the most delicate balance of these things I've ever seen in any video game ever. Both realistic and incredibly video gamey. I think surely these trains in Densha de Go are some of, if not the best trains in all of video games. That's what I think.
Yeah, we're talking about like video games from the merit of their trains. I feel like you have to gotta give that credit.
Right.
You're being like so faithful as like a simulation game.
Yeah, if Wild Western is on here just for the sake of its historical value, then Densha de Go is a no-brainer. I think it just kind of has to be at the top.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. And they have not slouched on this, right? To this day, they're still making these and they are only getting better. They are only getting better. It's incredible. It's incredible what they did this thing. I'd like to shout out real quick. I didn't play every single one of these games myself, of course, but I'm familiar with the history of them, mostly thanks to an excellent blog run by someone named Kimimi. She did excellent write-ups of many of these games, including the ones like the Game Boy, like these weirder ones. I'd encourage anyone interested in these kinds of games and are not familiar with them to go check out Kimimi's blog.
Okay.
Excellent write-ups on those. Anyway, Densha Digo, for me, is number one right now. I think it's certainly better than Final Fantasy VI, like by a significant margin. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure that's going to stay up there. It is one of my personal top 3 trains.
Yeah. Okay.
For me, it's going to stay up there. We'll see if you can come up with any better ones. We'll see.
Probably not.
But maybe give it a shot. Let's see what you got.
Well, I was gonna bring up a pretty like boring train actually.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, because I was gonna bring up the train in Red Dead Redemption.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because of personal history of playing the game a lot growing up. That was one of those specific games where, like, you know, my parents knew about Grand Theft Auto. They wouldn't let me play GTA, right? But they didn't know about Red Dead Redemption. So I was able to get away with that scot-free. And even then, like, I never really progressed that much of the game because I just didn't like shooting guys and stuff. You know, I spent most of the game in the bars playing poker, and then I would spend, like, hours of time where I would just, like, wait for the train to come by, and then I'd get on the train and just walk around.
So I also have never played Red Dead Redemption. It sounds like this could be 2 flavors of train here.
Yeah.
Is it the kind of train where you get on it and it's a load screen and then you're somewhere else? Or do you have to like sit and wait that whole time for it to travel the whole distance?
You have to wait for it to travel the whole distance.
That's
it just goes
excellent.
on its own. Yeah.
That's excellent. That already puts it above, I would say, several entries on this list.
Wow. Okay.
Because I love that. I understand, again, I've not played these games, but I understand that trains, both in Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, fulfill many purposes. They fulfill narrative purposes, they fulfill gameplay purposes, and they fulfill kind of combat purposes too. I know they really get a lot of value out of these trains.
Yeah.
Which, just knowing Rockstar Games, I'm sure they're also lovingly rendered in lavish detail, right?
Yeah. Very, like, expertly made. And I'm not sure if there's surely there is, and I just, like, never got to it. There's, like, a story significance or, like, some mission where you're on the train. Let's do something there. But it was just, like, I don't know. I always just like to walk around there and always be, like a different set of people who's sitting on the train.
Yeah.
As you go by. You can just hang out. I love a train where you can just hang out.
Okay, yeah. So a hangout train, as well as, like I said, I'm aware that there's some missions where you need to like pull off train heists and stuff. I know there's cutscenes that happens in trains. So again, very diverse trains in these games.
Yeah.
I would go as bold as to put it above Azusa 999, I think.
Really? Yeah.
I would fit it I would fit it between Gunbird and Azusa, I think. It might change if I played the game.
Yeah.
I might rate it lower if I saw just how boring these were, but you know me, I love boring, right? I personally would put it above Azusa.
Okay.
Let me know if I'm out of pocket here.
You can put it there.
Okay.
I'll agree with it.
Word. Okay. Because the next up underneath that would be Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
Which is definitely better than Dragon Quest. Okay, so if now we're getting into kind of these slower trains, these hangout trains, I'm going to posit Chulip, my best friend Chulip.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Chulip I love this train for almost an identical reason. It is one of the trains where once you get on it, it is kind of just like a loading screen.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is that along with everything else in Chulip, it is acting completely independently from the player character, right? If you are in one part of the world and you want to get to another part, and the only way to get there is through riding the train, you need to catch it on its cycle, right? And you need to catch it as it runs through the station that is closest to you. And what this means for me, I'm sure someone who has more fully optimized this game would, be a little better about this. But what it means for me is that I spent a lot of time in Chulip just kind of at the train station, just hanging out, waiting for the train, right? And I love that. I love just sitting down, hunkering down, and just hanging out and just waiting for something that has nothing to do with me, I love just how much that grounds the space, Yeah. It's I guess back in 2011, a video game YouTuber may have called that immersion, right? Maybe we're talking about immersion here. I just think it's great to just hang out and just chill for a little bit. Not a particularly exciting train. It's not as lavishly rendered as something as like Densha Digo or Red Dead Redemption. But I think what it stands for, because that's kind of one of the themes in Chulip is how I don't want to put it this way, but kind of how indifferent the world is to you, right?
Yeah.
I think it is a very minute, very kind of mechanical way of kind of helping to express that.
Mm-hmm.
Just makes the game feel a little bit more the way that it does, right?
Yeah, yeah. You're just another part of this place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So where I'm looking right now, I think I hate to do this. I might put it underneath Dragon Quest.
Oh.
I hate to put it
really?
that I hate to put it that
Jeez.
low down, but
Mhm.
all of the trains above that are so much more significant.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it goes above Azusa. I don't think it does.
Yeah, yeah. Just a nice train.
Yeah, because once we get above Azusa, it's like it definitely is not better than Red Dead Redemption, right?
Mm-hmm.
As much as I wish it was, like I cannot express to you how much with my whole heart I love the trains in Tulip.
Uh-huh.
I cannot express to you, but the fact of the matter is, just kind of isn't doing much.
Yeah.
Just kind of not that big of a deal. So we'll put that underneath Dragon Quest for now.
Okay.
So before we move on, let me give you from the bottom to the top a list of our trains so far.
Okay.
And if anything feels like it needs rearranging, we can do that before moving on.
All right.
So at the bottom from the top, we have Wild Western, Bayonetta 3, Tulip, Dragon Quest IX, Azusa 999, Red Dead Redemption, Gunbird, Wild Guns, Final Fantasy VI, and Denshi Digo, just the entire series.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds about right.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Wild Western and Bayonetta, we got to get these guys out of here, I think. We got to come up with more trains. I don't
Yeah.
think they belong on this list in the end.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So let's see what you got here. What do you got?
Well, I got the classic train game.
Oh yeah? The classic More Than Densha They Go?
Not more classic than Denshi to Go, but if you asked any layman gamer
Mm-hmm.
about a train game, they would say The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks.
Oh! Oh, wow. We've gone this far with
Yeah, that's like the most obvious like train
Oh.
game.
I said Wild Western before. Before Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like, are we just like waiting for it to show up?
It would have been so funny if we just never mentioned it at all. That'd be so good.
Yeah.
Okay, Zelda though, huh? Okay, so talk to me about this. Talk to me about Zelda.
Yeah, also just like a very good train. It's a lot of like it builds a lot of identity around the train. It gets a lot of importance like near the end of the game, but I feel like, you know, it fills a lot more of a mechanical purpose than a narrative one, really.
Kinda.
Like they want to show like the main gimmick of the game is that you are a conductor. Link's a hero, but he's also a conductor, and you gotta
Yeah.
use your train to get everywhere.
Which I think, if we're talking about Link as a character who exists in these worlds, I think Spirit Tracks does one of the better jobs of really kind of grounding him in that reality, right?
Yeah.
Like he just was doing an exam, he was going through all these, like this very kind of bureaucratic process of becoming a conductor.
Mhm.
He had to like meet with the princess and whatever. And then shit just kind of happens around him. He's like, oh, I guess I got to take care of this now, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't some sort of Forspoken hero. I guess maybe he was or whatever. Like he winds up that way, but he didn't know. Nobody knew. Just kind of did what he had
He's
to
the
do.
guy that stepped up.
Yeah. What I love about the trains in Spirit Tracks, specifically the one that Link rides around in, is the
Yeah.
customization. You remember that?
Yeah.
The customization of those trains.
Mhm.
There's some very fun designs with that.
Mhm.
I loved Link's conductor outfit is maybe the best he's ever looked,
Yeah.
right? Might be just one of the
Yeah.
best Link designs ever.
Just a classic one.
Cannot forget the little rope to pull with the DS stylus to make the train blow its whistle.
Yeah.
Classic feeling pulling that whistle.
Pull lever to make your train go faster.
That's right. Yeah, it's got the different speeds, a little Density Go style. And, we're talking like mechanically versus narratively. I think it does a good job of kind of melding the two because a lot of the enemies in that game are kind of train themed.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of there's a lot of like bad trains on the overworld that
Yeah.
help kind of differentiate how you need to navigate the overworld. Because if there's one train on one track, it's like, oh shoot, well now I got to reconfigure my plan here, my plan of action. The final form of the final boss is a train. It's like shoot,
Yeah.
it's got great trains.
Yeah, that's the one thing I wanted to bring up. Think of that whole segment where you're fighting the demon train.
Yeah.
And you're in that like other realm. It's crazy.
It's great. It's a
Yeah.
certified Zelda gaming moment.
And then like when you take the train underwater, The little underwater palace.
That's right. Yeah. Still don't really understand how that works.
He gets the bubble.
Oh, he gets the bubble. Bubble. Okay.
Of course.
Spirit Tracks? I hate to say it because it's a Nintendo game. That's a really good train.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
It is. You know, it's a classic train for a reason.
It certainly is. I'm looking at the Wild Guns Gunbird Red Dead Redemption Zone.
Yeah.
It feels about as good as one of those to me.
Yeah, I feel like I would put it above Red Dead, below Gunbird.
You think so?
Where I put it, yeah.
It's tough. It's tough because once again, we have to deal with the fact that the Gunbird spectacle is so excellent.
Yeah.
But it's such a small part of the game.
Very small, but it's just...
Whereas Spirit Tracks does a lot over the entire course of the game.
Yeah,
That's what the game is about, is these trains.
train game, yeah.
I might want to put it above Gunbird. I might want to. Underneath Wild Guns.
Yeah. I'll acquiesce it to you. You do your wish.
Okay. I guess, yeah, as the one who has played Gunbird.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it feels bad to have a Nintendo game so close to the top, though.
Uh-huh.
I don't like a Nintendo game being so high.
A capital Z Zelda game.
It's so boring. It's so boring to have a Nintendo game up there.
It's a good one, though.
But they did. I can't pretend like they didn't do a good job. They did a good job.
Yeah. Nintendo makes good games sometimes.
Sometimes. Well, if we want to talk about... just get the Nintendo trains out of the way here.
Yeah.
Get these guys out of here. Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door.
Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door, yep. That's one. Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing, yep. Let's take one at a time here, because I think most of those games are going to make it on this list.
Yeah.
Paper Mario. When I mentioned earlier that Final Fantasy VI, I think, is no longer the de facto train game, it's because of Paper Mario, I think, has now taken over that spot. You mentioned trains in video games. I think anyone who is interested in video games right now, who was like born, you know, like after like 1998, they're going to say Paper Mario. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And it's because, actually, it'd be funny if we never mentioned A Hat in Time at all. For the rest of this discussion, we'll pretend that game doesn't exist.
Yeah. It would not be on this list.
No. No. That is worse than Wild Western at least.
It is.
Right?
It is not worth even bringing up.
Not worth even bringing up. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is a great train, though. Like many other trains in many other video games, like for example, I don't know, The Last Express, Murder on the Eurasia Express. This is, of course, another glaring homage to Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, it's weird to me that so many people think this like Thousand Year Door train is like so revolutionary and such a magnificent idea. I don't want to pretend like it's bad. I think it's a perfectly fine train. But for anyone who has read any books or watched any movies, you know,
that's a hard ask for gamers to read books.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, is I think if they read this book or watched the movie adaptation, even, which is a perfectly fine movie. You often hear that movies are worse versions of books. I think the movie version is perfectly fine of that.
Yeah.
You know, Paper Mario is just kind of like a very cold rehash of just a classic and beloved story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of doing what it needs to do, except instead of there being a fascinating twist at the end, which I won't say because, as we said, gamers don't read, and I'd like if they did. This is my recommendation to you, the listener, to either read or watch Murder on the Orient Express. They take a perfectly good twist at the end of the narrative and turn it into, oh, actually it was a monster. Actually it was a monster the whole time.
Yeah.
Which, to me, I don't know. It's just, it's a good train.
Yeah.
I like my favorite part of this train in Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is it's two things. I do love the characters they introduce. I love Pennington.
Yeah. Pennington
is, I think, just my favorite Paper Mario character ever. I'd have to think about that a little bit more, but it might be true. Him or Dimentio for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I also love this is different from Murder on the Orient Express, is that this takes place over several days, and you can see the time passing throughout the window.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love just the atmosphere of that. So I will say, this is a perfectly good train. I think there's a lot of people who would say it's the best train in any video game, and I think they just don't really know what they're talking about straight up. I think they just don't know.
Yeah.
Do you hear? I don't know. My microphone picks that up. There's literally a train going by my house right now. Do you hear that?
Oh shit! Wait, the best trains in real life.
It's the train from Paper Mario. It's trying to exact its revenge.
Good.
If it wasn't bound to these rails, it'd be barreling towards my house at incalculable speeds.
It's a Spirit Tracks demon train. It's gonna shoot cannonballs at your house.
That's right, off the cannonballs. Yeah. Actually, I'm thinking about where to place this Thousand Year Door. What I just remembered, I didn't even put this on my own personal list. I totally forgot until right now. I think like literally every single other Paper Mario game also has a train in it. I don't think Super does, but I think all the other ones do.
I guess, yeah.
Because the first one has that train that's like out of commission for a while, and then it brings you to the desert.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Sticker Star does. I never played Sticker Star. Does that have one?
I'm pretty sure it does. I'd have to check though.
Pretty sure. I know Color Splash does. I've seen a couple GIFs and memes of that on Twitter and Tumblr. Because apparently there's some pretty silly dialogue on there, which I guess in our current age constitutes for good dialogue.
Yep.
There's one in Origami King, which is also a pretty good one. A very small amount of time is spent in there, but it's a good amount of time. So I guess maybe my disappreciation of Thousand Year Door's kind of derisiveness is we can replace that with kind of just the Paper Mario series as a whole, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them in there, and they're all pretty good. Mm-hmm. A lot of those trains, if we combine all of the Paper Mario trains, we get one pretty good train, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's the same way we combine Densha de Go. We can do the same with Paper Mario.
Yeah, Sticker Star does not have a train. I was thinking of a boat.
Oh. Okay, so Paper Mario, as a series, being helmed by the Thousand Year Door, this certainly is the best one in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I might put it underneath Dragon Quest IX above Tulip.
I was thinking that.
Under Dragon Quest?
Yeah.
I feel bad that it's above Tulip, because Tulip is not a blatant reference to anything besides the real life feeling of waiting.
Just having trains.
But, when we combine all of these together, it's like it's one pretty goddamn good train, right?
Yeah. It's a video game train that would make somebody maybe read a good book.
Yeah, maybe. Or watch a movie or do anything that isn't a video game, right? Maybe. It's possible.
Uh-huh.
It's possible.
But who knows?
Who knows? Let us know in the comments if you're going to read a book because of this. Please, even just tell me you're going to do it anyway, even if you're not actually going to.
Let us know in the comments. Did you know that the Thousand Year Door train chapter was based off of Murder on the Orient Express?
That's right.
Did you know that?
Did you know that more than half of all trains in any video game are also referencing this exact same thing?
Yeah.
If not, just watch it. I think you'll find a deeper appreciation for culture. You'll find less of an appreciation for video games, but that's what happens when you do things that aren't video games. Anyway, you said Animal Crossing. Yeah. You can do Animal Crossing.
You hate video games the whole time? Yeah, I like Animal Crossing. I like going on the train to the town, and I like Rover.
Yeah, Rover's
like monkey.
Yeah. Oh my god, the monkey conductor, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Animal Crossing is a good one.
It's a good train.
It's sad that they never brought it back. It's only in that first game, right?
I think they bring it back in New Leaf, but it's like just to reference the first game, and it never like serves another purpose outside of that.
Yeah. No, it's very good in the first one.
Yeah, in the first one, the train takes the other down, and then there's like what's her name, Blanca on it, draw her face on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, let's just be honest. The first Animal Crossing is the best one anyway.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it has the best kind of plot device there.
Uh-huh.
Animal Crossing train. Yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling to think of much to say. I guess that's kind of another. We talked about this category of train that exists only to kind of bring together a group of people.
Yeah.
I guess, there's also similarly a lot of games that like start on a train, but do not have one ever again for like the rest of the game.
Uh-huh.
I think of Little Witch in the Woods, which is a recent indie game.
Yeah.
I think of, this is another indie game too. It's If on a Winter's Night for Travelers is another one of those where it starts on a train, and it's kind of like another kind of plot device. It kind of circles back to the train every now and then. But Animal Crossing, as far as these games that start on a train, but for the most part have nothing to do with it, Animal Crossing is surely the best one.
Yeah.
Little Witch in the Woods is also a very good one. I think it just barely makes this list. Anyway, we'll put an Animal Crossing on here. Where would you put this, though? I don't think it's better than Tulip.
Yeah, I think it's pretty low.
I think we put it underneath Tulip, above Bayonetta 3.
Yeah.
And then I think as we keep going, there will be more things that stack up underneath Animal Crossing. But for now, it's going to feel pretty low down, I think. Okay, well, I want to bring it to your attention that right now we are currently at 13 entries.
Oh, already?
We're coming up on 15, so after these next two, we're going to have to start taking things off the list, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Which means it's time to get down to business, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's time for me to reveal. There's 2 trains I could reveal right now.
Yeah.
Do you want my number 2 train or my number 3 train?
Give me your number 2 train.
My number 2 train. So the very first train I mentioned was Asusa 999,
Yeah.
which is 1997 RPG Maker game. And this is now a 2013 RPG Maker game, simply called Densha, right?
Yeah.
Just the Japanese word for train. As you might expect, it takes place completely on the train, again, similar to Asusa 999.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it's my number 2 train of all time is because, so kind of even at just the very start of the game, it freely admits that it is an homage to the theater troupe Shonen Ojakan, which is kind of an absurdist surrealist theater troupe. And the way that's kind of referenced in this game is just by slapping together a bunch of the craziest, weirdest, loudest, zaniest shit you can possibly think of. But it situates them all in these different train cars. So it's like these train cars are kind of like their own little like pocket dimensions of just their own weird little ideas. And they connect to each other in completely absurd ways. You can enter a train car from another one, and then when you go back the other way, it'll be a different train car depending on what actions you took inside of that train car. It's the whole game is one giant puzzle of figuring out how these train cars connect to each other and how to get to the places you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
All the while kind of just showcasing just some truly bizarre imagery, exploring some fascinating narrative themes as RPG Maker games tend to want to do. It is, for my money, not even just one of the best RPG Maker games of all time. I truly believe that. It is, for the purposes of our list, surely one of the best trains of all time.
Yeah.
As this list looks right now, I would put it above even Densha de Go. I would put it even above that, which is, I mean, you heard the way I talked about that game. That is incredibly high praise, right?
Yeah.
This Densha RPG Maker game. It is really just one of the best realizations of train, both in theme and in mechanics I've really ever seen.
Wow.
It is phenomenal video game, phenomenal use of a train. So unless there's any problem with you about that, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put it at the top for now. I'm just going to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just really one of the best.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I only have 2 train games left.
2? Tell me the one I don't know.
The one you don't know. This is a game that I still have yet to play myself, but I feel like I'd be remiss not to mention is Grim Fandango.
Oh.
That has a really interesting train as a plot device.
Right.
Because, it's another one that's representing the afterlife, but more in a much more cynical way.
Yeah.
Where it's you're trying to market this train to people, scam them of all their goodwill to take this train instead of taking a 4-year-long journey to the land of the dead.
Right.
You're like, oh, it's so painful, it's so awful, it's so horrible, but you can take this nice train that we have and just skip all of it. And it's interesting how they conceptualized this train, because they wanted to have a game that was focused on the story of a real estate scam.
Right.
Where, they realized if we want to make a game like that about the afterlife, but people that are already dead, they don't really need that. So maybe having one that's more about trying to scam quick tickets to heaven, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I found that really interesting as a concept.
That is, yeah. It's a compelling kind of thematic framework.
Yeah.
I also have not played that game.
Yeah, it's one I'm very interested in playing. After I did a bit of research on what it's about more, I'm a lot more interested in playing it.
Sure, yeah. I think I played 20 minutes of it back in I would say 2014, right?
Jeez.
And I wasn't terribly impressed back then. But I also don't remember like literally anything about Train at all. So,
Yeah.
for our purposes, I'll say I've never played it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on the way you describe it, I think it's better than Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Better than Paper Mario. I'll leave it to your discretion whether it's better than Dragon Quest or not.
I think it's better than Dragon Quest.
Better than Dragon Quest?
Yeah.
I think we'll keep it there then. Above Dragon Quest,
Okay.
underneath Azusa.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like Azusa takes a very similar concept and just kind of goes somewhere a little bit more meaningful with it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I'll leave that special game for you. With my turn here, I will reveal one more game. Another one. Actually, I have a couple more I could reveal. For now, I'll do this one. Do you remember everything I said about Densha Dego?
Yes.
And about how it is a gorgeously punctual game about just very kind of minute details and just kind of micromanaging a whole bunch of things all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to imagine Densha Dego, but if it was F-Zero, all right?
Oh my god.
And that is Tetsuwan Densha de Battle.
Oh.
Which is exactly as you might expect. It is a train racing game. This is on the PS2 that takes basically the exact control scheme of Densha Dego and turns it into like a death battle racing game.
No way.
Where there's all these, there's like, I think it's 5 or 6 trains all on their individual tracks. These tracks keep interweaving with each other. So the point of the game is to just constantly be merging into these other trains' lanes and like bumping them off the road and just trying to be the fastest, but not too fast or else you'll fall off the rails as well.
Mhm.
It is a magnificent video game, incredibly hilarious that someone looked at Densha Dego and was like, I can make a battle racer out of that.
Yeah.
And that it turned
my
out as
God.
good as it did. It is an excellent video game. It is loads of fun. So I don't think it's better than Densha Dego, but I certainly think it's up there. I think it's like just below Densha Dego. I think it's above Final Fantasy VI for me.
Oh my god.
It is an incredibly...
I'm looking at gameplay of this now. This is crazy. I'm watching this dude with a train rear-ending other trains.
Tetsuwan Densha de Battle, dude.
Yeah.
It's the real
And then
shit.
they're like trying to cross the other dude, cross them, then knocks him off. This is nuts.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Oh my god.
It's an incredible one because once again they're referencing real life places. Obviously, not as much work has been put in as Densha Dego to make them accurate to their real life surroundings or anything, but for what it is, for being essentially a parody of Densha Dego, it's just about as good as anybody could ask for.
Mhm.
For our purposes right now, I'm gonna put it pretty goddamn high up, right underneath Densha Dego, I think. Which leaves, I guess it's time for your special moment here.
Yeah, my number one game.
Yup,
And what I assume is also your number one game.
it certainly is.
Can we say it on the count of 3 and then we say it at the same time? So it's like, it's cute.
Okay, we can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2,
3.
3.
Ietofu
Monogatari! Yay,
Monogatari!
It's interesting, right? Because there's a lot of ways to do a game like Ietofu Monogatari, right?
Yeah.
It is, for all intents and purposes, an adaptation of a real living author's work, but also just taking many, many creative liberties with it.
Yeah.
And, or actually, I'm sorry, this is your entry. you can go ahead and explain what you like so much about this one, and then I can offer my opinions after.
I can kind of bring up like what it meant to me because again, it's another, like we alluded to at the beginning, it's a train game that uses the train itself as like an allegory for the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
And, since this game is like almost a compilation of Kenji Miyazawa's stories, they tend to feel like a bit disconnected, but it's always like connected by the town that you've arrived in and by the final chapter, which just give me this game I don't think would mean nearly as much to me as it does without that final chapter where you see the people you've helped, you've seen some of the people that have gotten hurt in these stories, and you find them all just on this train. They're waiting to board this train to the afterlife, and it's so quiet, and it says so well, but the way it just ties everybody together, and the meaningfulness of like having you just be a traveler who arrived this town. Now you have to leave.
Right.
That is how you leave, and it's just, I don't know. It's the kind of thing I can't like really put into words that well. It just really, I don't know, just really affected me.
Yeah. I liked kind of the direction you're going with this, where you mentioned how quiet it was, but you also mentioned that it is kind of the climax of the kind of overarching story of this whole game.
Yeah.
Which there's something to be said for that, for the climax of a game to be the quietest part. I think that's fascinating. I also think it is excellent to have this climax be, Kenji Miyazawa's by far his most popular story, right? Anybody who's familiar with his work will surely be playing this game, and, Campanella and Giovanni like exist in Utovo the town, but they're never really like prominent figures. They're just kind of background characters. So you're going to see these kids and be like, okay, when are we doing the Night in the Galactic Railroad? Right? When are we getting there?
Yeah.
And it's this incredibly gratifying moment to have it not just be another chapter like all the other stories have been, but it is it's an extension of what that story originally meant, where most of the story as it existed as Kenji Miyazawa told it doesn't really exist in this game. They're taking the framing device of the Galactic Railroad and utilizing it for the purposes of kind of this new thing that Utovo Monogatari as a game is trying to say, including, let's put it this way, Kenji Miyazawa was alive when he wrote the story, and he isn't now when the game was made. So he's there on the train. Kenji Miyazawa is on the Galactic Railroad. And you get to like have a conversation with him, and it's this beautifully touching, it's a very sentimental thing, because the whole game everyone's trying to find him. He's been here on the Galactic Railroad this whole time. It's a beautiful little thing. It's unbelievable to me that an adaptation that like twists the source material this much, but in my opinion makes it better because of it. This is basically unheard of to me. There's lots of things. Like just recently I played through Eblard, which is an adaptation of some paintings and stuff, which is just kind of horribly kind of mangles the source material and turns it into something that it wasn't and that it really shouldn't be. Obviously on the extreme end of the spectrum, we can talk about things like licensed video games, like the fucking Donald Duck game on the Sega Game Gear, right?
Yeah.
But then we have this, which appreciates the work so much that it doesn't even try to be it. It decides it can be something else. And what it is, in my opinion, kind of the best version of it, right? Because we obviously have the Kenji Miyazawa story. We have the film adaptation from, what was it, it might be 68? Is that right? 86? I might have dyslexia about that. Which is, surprisingly another adaptation of this work, which really just elevates it beyond what I thought it could be. Because I already love the story.
Yeah.
I already love Night on the Galactic Railroad as the short story that it is. The Night on the Galactic Railroad, the film, is one of my favorite films because of how it kind of, again, pushes that story beyond what it had to be.
Yeah.
And then this video game adaptation, where it just kind of repurposes everything for its own needs and, finds more meaning that way, it is unbelievable. It's unbelievable that, number one, this story is as good as it is. Number two, can be adapted as many times as it has been, and all of those adaptations are incredible. And number three, that it can be used not just as a standalone story, but as the culmination of like 6 different stories all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
It is unbelievable what they did with this game, right? It is unbelievable that that they were able to make something like this at all. So for that reason, it's our number one. If that's enough reason for you for that to be our number one train of all times in Utovo Monogatari, the Night on the Galactic Railroad. Maybe it's cheating a little bit, because we put down Paper Mario for just being Murder on the Orient Express, but
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You're literally talking this whole time, like how this isn't just taking the Galactic Railroad, but it's morphing it to its needs and making it like improving upon it and changing it in a way that like benefits the game itself in a way that it couldn't be made in either like the original story or in the movie.
Right. The Night on the Galactic Railroad as a story, as I understand it, is very much about kindness, right? It's about kindness. And rather than just purely adapting that to also be a story about this, to be the same story about kindness, Utovo Monogatari, for the entirety of the game, has also been about kindness, has been about this player character showing up in people's lives and kind of doing what they can to make it better, right?
Yeah.
And then it just kind of culminates in this, instead of just, like I said, just rehashing Night on the Galactic Railroad as its own story, it recognizes that its themes and the game's themes are similar.
Mhm.
So it just allows that to be the climax of the story rather than it being another retelling of a story,
Yeah.
which is, it's brilliant. It is downright brilliant to have not only the most popular work be the final one, but also to just not really adapt it at all.
Yeah.
Just to turn it into something else entirely. It is brilliant. And that's why it's one of my favorite games of all time. You know,
That's also mine.
Robin, I told you back when I was playing it, all I did is get up to, I think it was chapter 3 or 4
Yeah.
before I was like, I just need to own this game physically right now. I didn't even beat the game, and I was like, this is one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. Similarly, got me reading books. I've got a couple Kenji Miyazawas now. I've read those.
Yeah.
I don't know, any video game that can get you going out and reading several books is, that's pretty good. Right? That's
Yeah.
pretty good as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you said that's the end of your list there, right? Ito Monogatari at the top.
Yes.
No question about it.
Yes.
We, since then, have Bayonetta and Wild Western have been kicked. Right now, Animal Crossing is the bottom of our list at number 15.
Mm.
I'm gonna look through some of the trains that I have here.
Yeah.
I don't really think any of them are better than Animal Crossing. Maybe. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
I'd be positively remiss if I did not mention In the Hunt,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I think that's an IREM game, and it's for the Sega Saturn and the Sony PlayStation. And the reason why I say I think it's IREM is because it sure looks goddamn exactly like an SNK game,
Uh-huh.
which should set off lots of alarms to anyone with good taste in the audience. That means, yes, it does look incredibly good. This is a game about being a little submarine in the water, and it's a shmup, it's a shoot 'em up. What is fascinating about this is that even though you are a submarine in the water, there's things going on both in the water and above, like up in the sky. And the kind of the duality of that, the kind of juggling these two halves of the game is kind of where a lot of the depth of this game comes from. And one of my favorite moments in this game is a train that is on some railroads above the water. And this train, to me, is hilarious, kind of in a Gunbird kind of way, where this is a train just carrying like huge bombs, like huge, massive, like World War I era, like bombs.
Mm-hmm.
But the bombs are only on the train every other car. In between these bombed cars is a car just filled with like actual passengers. Just the concept of that to me is hilarious, that there's just like a passenger train, but every other car is like a World War I plane bomber, right?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious to me. I don't know, inside the train cars you can see the people just kind of like hanging out. They're not even like distressed or anything, they're just hanging out. You can blow up those cars, you can blow up the bombs and whatever. It's goofy, it's very silly. If we were continuing this list to 20 entries, I would probably put it above Bayonetta.
Yeah.
But even above Bayonetta still puts it underneath our 15 here. So it unfortunately doesn't make our list, but I do just, real quick honorary mention to In the Hunt for being an incredible video game and having a very hilarious car, or a very hilarious train in that. Any other honorable mentions? I guess we can't go this whole time and not mention Uncharted 2.
Yeah.
We can't go this whole time. Well, we said it, so now we can move on.
Yeah, there it is.
So now we can move on.
For all the Uncharted 2 heads, for the very small overlap of people who are watching this and also like Uncharted 2,
Right.
and they're thinking, why haven't they seen Uncharted 2 yet? There you go.
Because it is. I mean, if we're talking about popular trains, like it surely is one.
Mm-hmm.
We had this discussion about Final Fantasy VI and Paper Mario being very famous trains that people actively talk about. I think they talk about those trains because they like them. I think people talk about Uncharted 2's train because it's popular.
Yeah.
Which it has a good reason to be. It's the only train that I can think of where the point of traversing it is to go up rather than like across, which in its own way is very interesting, right? Using like a lopsided train as a platforming segment is very clever. It's very smart. It's a great set piece. I just kind of don't give a fuck. Right?
It's kind of whatever.
I can't deny that it is excellent at what it's supposed to be. I just kind of don't care. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Make your own train list if you want it on there so bad, right? Make your own list.
Uh-huh.
What's some other ones? Some other honorable mentions. Got a lot of bad trains on my list here. I'm seeing a lot of them. I don't want to mention them. Oh! Oh!
Yeah.
This might be better than Animal Crossing.
All right.
The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa.
Okay.
So this is, once again, if we're talking about... So actually, very fair to compare this to Animal Crossing, because this is, once again, a game that starts on a train.
Yeah.
But then that train also continues to be relevant throughout the game. And where Animal Crossing utilizes the train as a symbol of togetherness and people meeting each other, Ringo Ishikawa kind of uses the train to show how distant people are from each other. There's a lot of people on the train, but they all kind of just don't want much to do with each other, right? So it's tough. They're perfect to compare with each other, and yet they're so opposite. So I'm not sure. I think I personally... I'm looking at this list. I might put Ringo Ishikawa above Tulip even. I might go that far.
Jeez, okay.
I'll let you have the final word here about how far up it should exactly go. Because I understand knocking out Animal Crossing is a huge deal.
Uh-huh.
That is an excellent train that absolutely, for all intents and purposes, does belong on this list.
Yeah.
But Ringo Ishikawa, dude.
When you talk about the two biggest themes that run with like trains and games is either like a passing on or like the Afterlife narrative sense, or in a narrative or mechanical sense of like bringing people together, like how you would with Animal Crossing, or even something like Tulip, just like waiting with somebody at the station.
Yeah.
And I think something that takes a more cynical but still like honest take on that, and I think it's a very interesting feeling of being very crowded in a space but still feeling like very isolated.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting feeling that's like very hard to evoke.
Yeah.
So I think it's better than Animal Crossing.
I think so too. I think so too. Now my thing was, I think it's also better than Tulip, which that might be harder to convince you of. I want to know if it's, because we're sitting around that range anyway. So I just think above or below Tulip, do you think?
I think above.
Above, okay.
Yeah, like I said, it probably has like more to say than Tulip.
That's true. In that case, it has more to say than Paper Mario as well. Does it go above Paper Mario? It might.
Oh,
it might.
Maybe. Yeah.
It might, yeah.
Let's put it up there.
Yeah.
Fuck those Nintendo kids.
Just to say fuck Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're in hot water, because if we add any more to this list, Tulip is also going down.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I was looking at my list and there might be one. There might be one. There might be one. We might actually not be done here yet. We might actually not be done. Wild Arms 3, dude. Wild Arms 3, dude.
Shit. Oh.
So here's what's excellent about the train in Wild Arms is that it might be one of the best like introductions to a story I've like ever seen, basically. Like pretty much ever. Wild Arms 3 starts with very immediately with a mystery. The player character, well, one of the player characters, is on a train. She's going somewhere. And then it's revealed that there is something of some kind of nebulous great importance on this train. And she's like, I want to check that out, right? So she goes to that train car to see what's up with this weird thing in this train. And at the exact same time, 3 other people come crashing into that train, all separately from each other. These are all people with their own different agendas, meeting in this train car, who are all after this singular thing for all completely different reasons. And it's at that point with all 4 characters in this train car that you choose whose perspective you want to see, which is just a phenomenal opening, an excellent way to introduce every single one of the main characters at the exact same time. Is all these characters from all these different walks of life converging at this one point, and then that's where you meet them, is where they converge. You know, if we're talking about this train as, once again, as a way for a lot of different people to be kind of in the same space at the same time, that might actually, I don't know how I just totally forgot about this until now. That might be like my favorite version of it.
Yeah.
It's like the best introduction to a game, the best way to kind of utilize that theme for trains. It's excellent. And I cannot express to you, because I don't think you played Wild Arms 3, right? No. I cannot express to you just how, like, hilariously exhilarating. Like, looking back, it's hilarious, but in the moment, it's exhilarating just to like run into another person, and then another person crashes in, and then another person crashes in, and then you get to choose who you want to play as. It's like, whoa!
Oh my god, yeah.
It's just excitement after excitement. It is such a good introduction to a video game.
Mm-hmm.
It is positively shocking how good that introduction is.
That rules, because it's a lot of like intense interest.
Yeah.
Where, for one, there's this nebulous thing that like all these people are breaking in separately to get, which is just a lot of interest for what that is.
Yeah.
And then to like they're bringing people together, but like all in conflict with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, being able to just select one immediately, you know, out the gate that all these people are really important, important enough to be your main character.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's because I'll tell you what, the first time I played through that introduction, just sitting down and being forced to choose one who I like cared about more than the rest was it was a choice I did not make easily or quickly. I was there for, I want to say, maybe like a solid 5 minutes, just like scrolling between the 4 characters, being like, oh, but this one's cool. Oh, but this one. Oh, but this one. Right? Excellent introduction to any video game, which I might say might be better than Dragon Quest.
Yeah, because here's where I'm at right now. We have 2 games that we could kill: Tulip or The Thousand Year Door.
Oh, that would be hilarious if we killed Paper Mario. That'd be really funny. If we just got all the Nintendo ones out and Zelda's the only survivor. That's hilarious. I definitely want to do that, actually.
Yeah, get Paper Mario.
Okay. Paper Mario's out. Wild Arms 3 is in, and I don't know. I also kind of want to put it above Grim Fandango.
Yeah.
That might not be true if I played the game, but for now I think it is.
I feel like that's true.
Okay.
Because probably just one of the best like moments in a train.
Yeah.
How much that immediately sets up in that one like environment.
I love that goddamn train, dude. I love that train. So, I think that might be the end of my list. There's a couple other ones that we haven't mentioned. I don't know if they need mentioning.
Yeah.
Ones like Cuphead. Like Cuphead's all right, but it's not going to be on the list. Star Fox 64, good train, not going to be on the list.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty much good here. I'll run through the list one more time, bottom to top, and if we need to change anything, we can.
Okay.
But if not, this is it. So, number 15, Tulip. Number 14, The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa. Number 13, Dragon Quest IX. Number 12, Grim Fandango. Number 11, Wild Arms 3. Which, by the way, it's bullshit. There's no train in Wild Arms 1. I wish there was, so I could put it on this list. I wish there was a train in that game.
Feels like
I want to put it on this list. Anyway, Wild Arms 3 is going to have to be good enough. It's going to have to be good enough at number 11. Number 10, Azusa 999. Number 9, Red Dead Redemption, which I think we can count as both 1 and 2.
Yeah.
In that case, maybe it should be a little higher if it's both those games. Anyway, we can talk about that. Number 8, Gunbird. Number 7, The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. Number 6, Wild Guns, dude. Wild Guns, dude. Yeah. Number 5, Final Fantasy VI.
Number 5, damn.
It's very funny that Azusa 99 is number 10 and Final Fantasy VI is number 5. They're both just kind of one off away from the number in their title. Anyway, number 4, Tetsu 1, Densha de Battle. God, that game fucking rules. Number 3, Densha de Go, the whole series. Number 2, Densha, the RPG Maker game. And number 1, Ii Dofu Monogatari.
Yep.
I'm looking at this list. I might put Red Dead Redemption above Gunbird.
Okay.
If we're counting both those games, that's a lot of really good train utilization.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and do it. Red Dead Redemption is now number 8. Gunbird is number 9.
All right.
I'm also looking at this list, and I'm looking at Densha, the RPG Maker game, in number 2 spot. I love that game, but I don't know if it can beat the whole history of Densha de Go.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff to compete with.
I think it's certainly better than Tetsuwan. I think it's definitely within the top 3.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's number 2.
Didn't they go? I think it got put in number 2, like it's a single game. Well, I mean not single, it's a whole series. But like, has a single most love for trains.
If we're being honest, it should be number 1. Like I think any other list like this, if any list looked even remotely like ours, I think Densha to Go would be number 1.
Yeah.
If there weren't 2 people madly in love with Iido Monogatari making this list. We definitely are incredibly biased. On no other list would that game be number 1.
Sorry, it's in our top 5 games.
Yeah, it is in both of our top 5 games of all time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Densha to Go number 2, the whole series. Really, it should be. It's a tentative number 1 for people more normal than us. It's number 1. We can say that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this, and I think this feels right. I think this feels good.
Yep.
So once again, bottom to top: Tulip, The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa, Dragon Quest IX, Grim Fandango, Wild Arms 3, Azusa 999, Gunbird, Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, Wild Guns, Final Fantasy VI, Tetsuwan Densha de Battle, Densha, Densha de Go, and Iido Monogatari.
Yep.
Which, goddamn, if that's not one fucking list, right?
Uh-huh.
Of just some of the absolute best games of all time, regardless of their trains.
Yeah,
just some positively remarkable titles here. I feel like we done good here. I feel like we have gotten to the bottom. You wanted to know some good trains? Here they fucking are. Right?
We made the definitive train list. If you don't agree with these trains, then you're wrong.
Go ahead and put Uncharted 2 at the top of your list.
Yeah.
Go ahead. If you don't agree with us, that's your number 1. That's your number 1 just by default.
Yeah, go ahead and put 1,000 Year Door on your list. We won't.
I forgot that's not on our list anymore. That's hilarious. That's so funny. I'm so glad. I'm so glad we live in a world where we can pretend we don't have to pretend like Nintendo's really that good.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, wow, yeah, there's really only one Nintendo game on here.
Yeah.
Only one. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you think of our trains.
Yes.
I think they're good. Maybe you think they're bad. Maybe there's one we missed. If there's a very good train in the game we never even thought about, please tell us about it. I would love to learn about more trains.
Yes.
But for now, that's going to be it from us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for observing our trains. Please read a book. Please, for the love of God, read any book. If there's one thing to take away from this, just read a goddamn book. That's the point of this.
And the moral of the story is that video games suck.
That's right.
Go outside.
Yes. Go outside to the library.
Yep.
Right? There's video games there now. You know that? There's video games in those libraries.
Yep.
That's
Go
weird.
outside to the movie theater.
Yes.
And not like a fucking IMAX theater, like a little mom and pop, like a little baby theater. That's got the little quiet movies playing, not that Marvel shit.
Watch Drive My Car, dude. Is that still in theaters? It's probably not anymore. Watch Tar.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. Read a book, watch a movie, have fun.
Okay.
Tell us some trains.
Okay.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Okay. Goodbye.